Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by John Donovan and Longhorn Wealth Management Group. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined every day by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Tell us where you're checking in from this morning, what you're drinking, get your questions in. We're going to have Marcus Myers join us here in just a minute as well. But first, guys, I thought we got to talk about Super Bowl, but there was also a commitment on Saturday in the 2027 class.
Yeah,
Ty Knutson. Oh, go ahead, Jerry.
Ty Knutson, quarterback out of Spring Branch, Texas. Not the Spring Branch people in Houston, though, but Smithson Valley High School down Spring Branch, Texas, what it's called officially these days. Really good ball handler, really good feet in the pocket. He manipulates the pocket well. I think a lot of his strengths are within playing in a pocket. And Rod and I had a discussion about him last night. I'll get into a final thought on him in a second. But I think he's got really good feet, and he's got good pocket awareness. He moves in the pocket. He slides in the pocket. He's a really good ball handler, which I think is underrated, and I think it's great how Smithson Valley, who went through a little bit of an offensive change, two-time state champion. Congrats to Larry Hill and his staff winning 2 state titles in a row. But I think he plays so well in the pocket. I think he's got good feel in the pocket. I think he throws – we were talking about last night, he throws well going right. A lot of right-handed quarterbacks throw they're best on the move going left because it's easier to get your shoulders square. He throws the ball really well going right, but can layer the football. Doesn't have a huge downfield arm, but he makes all the throws. He changes ball speeds. And Bobby, what I said is he reminds me of a quarterback that Matt Campbell would have signed at Iowa State that would have been a really good player, the Rocco Becks of the world. And I'm not going to name the guy for the 49ers because I'm not putting that on him. But a guy that just really knows how to play the position, has some toughness to him, can play in the pocket, and a good decision maker with the ball, 29 touchdowns, 3 interceptions in a state championship season. You're not putting the ball in harm's way a lot in that scenario.
He's willing to stand in there a little bit, too. You saw that pass with the rush beating down on him a little bit. I wrote this morning on Texas Football, Jerry. I think that as Steve Sarkisian, A.J. Milwee, Mike Biamonte, the quarterback coach, as well as Brandon Harris and the personnel staff, look at a quarterback in this class, there's a couple of things. One, you're not necessarily going to get the high-end finished product. You just coming off a year in which you got Diabell, the number 1 or 2 ranked quarterback in the country. It's very unlikely you're going to continue that level of success year after year. That also commands that level of NIL these days, Jerry. And I think that that's part of this. But what I like about him is I do think he has some skill sets that make him a little different than just a good quarterback pickup. You mentioned his feet and his footwork in the pocket. That's what I think he does as well or better. Yeah. And he's not, even though he's athletic, he doesn't start to run.
No.
I mean, he only had 300 yards rushing this year. So even in Texas high school football, that's not a huge number, although he's definitely athletic, as you can see, to get out there and get out of the way. And so I think that's where I look at this pickup. I think it's a really good one for Texas from the standpoint of I think see that play right there is a hard one to make, man. Avoiding the rush, then getting your eyes up while people are beating down on you. So I feel like he's going to be one of those guys. Let's see if he finds a role at Texas long term, because I think it's going to be it'll be interesting to see exactly what Texas is able to do. He has good size too, Jerry. People underestimate that a little bit.
Yeah, he's 6'3", 205-ish in that area. He's been listed. We listed him at 202. Some people have had him listed there. He's said he's 209. We'll see if he goes to the combine. It's combine season in 2 weeks in Texas, 3 weeks. Dallas Under Armour's March 1st and Houston is March 8th. So we'll start to get some updated heights, weights on these guys that attend these big Under Armour combines. I would say, to Bobby's point, which is interesting, is, and I agree, is A.J. Milwee went around. He took a look at some quarterbacks earlier this month. He went to Florida to see Champ Mons, who reclassed from 28 to 27. The kid I absolutely love at Sarasota, Davin Davidson, who I think is could be a special player. They went and took a look at all those guys. And to Bobby's point, I mean, when you have KJ Lace and you have Diabell, what are you going to do from an NIL perspective for a guy that probably won't play 2 years? Whoever the quarterback take is in 27, and now it's Ty Knutson, you have to come in with a patient mindset. Because the reality is you're not going to be the starter after Arch. Those just odds are not in your favor. So how big are you on, and how mentally are you capable of saying, I'm going to sit 2 years and develop? And then that gets to the NIL part of that for a Texas staff is, what are you going to invest if some kid comes to you that you like, says, hey, a couple $1 million NIL? You're not going to do that, Bobby, for a guy that's not going to play 2 years. You're not going to do that. So especially after Lacey and Bell. So I think that was all part of it. But Knutson, for whatever reason, he reminds me of a guy you might have seen playing with Matt Campbell at Iowa State, because those guys are normally just really solid guys with understanding and feel. They're tough guys. They can make a lot of different throws. They have a functional athleticism or functional plus athleticism. That's just what he reminds me of for whatever reason.
It's good. I like it. Other thing I would say, that now brings Texas to 6 commitments for the 2027 recruiting class. 3 of those, Jerry, have happened in the last 10 days, by the way. So Texas is on a little bit of a run right now in recruiting. Whether that's, I think that the reasoning for that is twofold. And I've mentioned this. I think that one is Texas's ascendance to perennial national power. I mean, Texas has now won 10 games 3 straight years. So these kids are growing up. The Ty Knutson in the world and Cameron Hall, they're growing up expecting Texas to win 10 games. Yeah. And it's starting to see that kind of consistency, and it'll pay off in recruiting. And then furthermore, I think that going to 105 scholarships gives the Texas personnel staff more latitude to make earlier decisions about a few more players. So a couple of factors playing a role there.
There we go. Good stuff. All right. Before we move on this morning, Bobby, I'm going to let you tell everyone about our sponsor, John Donovan and Longhorn Wealth Management Group.
Yeah, thanks to our sponsor, John Donovan, President, Longhorn Wealth Management Group. They recently received or were recently recognized as a member of the Longhorn 100 for 2026. That's an award bestowed by the Texas X's each year to the top 100 fastest growing companies in the world that were founded, owned, or led by UT alums. John and his team at Longhorn Wealth are ecstatic and proud to have earned this grand recognition. As you know, John's a proud Texas X's Life member who truly bleeds burnt orange. His wife and 6 siblings, all UT grads. It was his family passion for UT that led John to brand his firm, Longhorn Wealth Management Group, and dedicated to providing investment, retirement, insurance, and estate planning services to Longhorn families and friends across the nation. John wants to celebrate the Longhorn 100 Award by offering all OTF fans a free private consultation via Zoom, phone, or in person to allow John to help you explore how working with a certified financial planner can help you maximize your wealth, minimize your taxes, and ensure your legacy. To schedule your own free private consultation, just call the Longhorn Wealth Team 972-707-4900 or schedule online www.longhornwealth.net. John sends a special Longhorn 100 hook 'em to all the OTF family. John's been doing it for 30 plus years there at Longhorn Wealth Management.
Hey, Blake, I want to bring something up just to finish off the quarterback conversation. Joe Jack 12 says, sit 2 years and only have 2 years left to make an impact. No one's buying into that other than the first family of quarterbacks in KJ Lacey. All right, moving on.
Funny how ideas about success change these days, and whether or not it's worth waiting your time or biding your time. Let's see. I mean, he could probably go to Texas State and play earlier.
Yeah.
But what's the value in that? He's just going to be looking to move a year after that, probably via NIL.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's Monday, which means it's time for Marcus Myers Mondays. Good morning, Marcus.
Morning, Blake. What's going on? How you guys doing?
Looking sharp this morning, Marcus Murphy. I was going to say Marcus Murphy. Marcus Myers, because I had Byron Murphy on my mind,
There
Two
you go.
sacks, fumble recovery last night in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Michael Dixon, coffin corners, a couple of kicks for the Seahawks. Super Bowl champs. Congrats to them. Your thoughts about the Super Bowl last night, Marcus? Any?
Yeah, man, it was. It's something I always watch because it's kind of like a final end to football for me for some months. I saw a video out there somewhere where it was like a callback to Gladiator, where like they were sitting there watching, and it was like this is all the dads as football season ends, and the mom and the kid are looking off in the sunset for the dad returning a little bit. So we gotta mourn some not having football, but I enjoyed it, man. I mean, I didn't expect it to be close. I think when we put up kind of the prediction of who was going to win, I had it at like, I think I just put Seahawks by 14 because I just didn't really see a scenario where Drake May was going to kind of be ready for that, and further to that, Will Campbell, but that's a whole other conversation, right? So yeah, it was a good end to the year. It was pretty anticlimactic. I didn't really see any point where I was like concerned about how it went. It was always good to see how the Longhorns did. Like you said, Michael Dixon doing all the coffin corner kicks and stuff was pretty cool to see. And even when they all, tried to come after to, block it, he managed to get off a quick pooch punt, and it still was, extremely effective. So I enjoyed it. I even had a good time watching the halftime show. It was cool all around. So Super Bowl is gone and done, and now I gotta find something to do with my time outside of watching live football.
It's called On Texas Football, Mark.
Oh, absolutely. Outside of that, of course.
Hey, no, and it looked to me last night, it was very interesting. It almost looked like they used Byron Murphy as a little bit of a spy on Drake May at times.
May.
Yeah, he was not like trying to – he usually is a guy that tries to create pressure inside by shucking a guy and making quick pressure. Instead, that it looked like they tried to make him go through his guy and kind of keep that middle of the pocket occupied and let him come off of that. He did get a couple of sacks, but they were workman-like sacks, if that makes sense. Yeah. He really had to work through some stuff. But when he went out, that's when Drake May actually had his good scrambles. So I think Byron Murphy proved himself to be really good. Probably should have been in the Pro Bowl. Dixon, you said, as you mentioned, had a couple good kicks. What do you think of it overall, the game itself? Did you think that that's the problem I had with it? I'll just say this: is 2 touchdowns scored, or what was it? 3 touchdowns scored. Is that right? And that's the and that's the ultimate football game of the year. 5 field goals. It felt a little anticlimactic in that regard, that there weren't enough touchdowns scored, I guess.
Yeah, I just think by the nature of the teams and their matchup, like it wasn't a good matchup for New England in any stretch of the imagination. Their last couple of games in the playoffs, they were barely putting up points, right? Like they were winning defensively, and you just weren't going to be able to move the ball on a Seattle defense like that. So, you got to shout out their head coach. Was it Mike McDonald? Is that who is out there in Seattle? Actually, a buddy of mine put in the chat something that was pretty cool. Maria Taylor was the first Black woman to host like the Super Bowl press game, and both she and McDonald went to high school together, Centennial, in Roswell, Georgia. So he dropped a little quick Black History Month fact on me this morning for that. But it's just always cool how some of these things are interwoven. But I think it was just a horrible matchup for New England. They didn't have a shot. And so to your point, then Bobby, it made it for an entertaining football game for like someone that just likes to watch football, but for that to be kind of the big draw of the year that pulls in people that don't even typically watch football, it was what it was. But congrats to those guys.
I wanted to say a third Longhorn gets a ring. Quandre Diggs obviously was on the injured list, but so he didn't play. So congrats to all 3 of those guys. I mean, I when you're on the injury practice squad, I don't know what it feels like if you feel like you're part of the team as much, right? But Quandre Diggs gets a Super Bowl ring, so congrats to him as well.
Yeah. I would just say this: Drake May looked overmatched last night. He looked overmatched. Like he needs some more seasoning before he can be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. That would be my takeaway from him. Good player, but off too much, little shell shocked, I thought, at the beginning by the Seattle defense. Sam Darnold's experience showed last night, I thought.
Yeah. That's still wild to me, too, that he's the first USC quarterback to ever start in a Super Bowl. Like, that just feels like a stat that wouldn't exist. But,
well, where did Pat Hayden go to college? Didn't he start in a Super Bowl? That's what or was it Vince Ferragamo that started in that Super Bowl for the Rams back in the 80s? I digress. About that.
Yeah, somebody asked in the chat, I want to answer this about Christian Gonzalez, the corner from with the Pats, who's played at Colorado, transferred somewhere else. Texas liked him out of high school, did not push for him. He was a low four-star kid, was really productive player in high school, especially his last year. I saw him at a camp. He could really go. He had elite short area quickness, and that's kind of proven out to be a thing for him as well as playmaking on the ball. But from the Colony, tremendous football player.
Absolutely.
I think Sam Darnold's a good story, by the way, for athletes. High pick of the draft, went to a rough franchise, had a bad start to his career, or not what people expected. Yeah, got to have some stick-to-itiveness. I know you're well paid, but had some stick-to-itiveness. Yeah, Gonzalez finished at Oregon. Thank you. Has some stick-to-itiveness and overcame a lot of adversity as a pro, put that thing together later in his career, and look where he is now. So, we're like when we're talking about Drake May, the good thing for these guys is year one or year two doesn't define their career. And Sam Darnold's he's a good story for young athletes out there. Look, he had the high expectations. He was drafted, third overall. A lot of people are calling him a bust. He's terrible. The normal things that go on with athletes nowadays. But he showed some mental fortitude and toughness to kind of keep improving and steady his ship and get to where he is now. So congrats to him, because being a quarterback in the NFL that's highly drafted and things don't go your way, I know you make a lot of money, man, but it can be tough because you are criticized every day you wake up.
Well, I would add this. I mean, at some point, the New York Jets have to look at themselves in the mirror.
Yeah.
They've gone through a list of guys that have actually bounced back and had success, or at least marginal success elsewhere. Hey, Marcus, moving on to Ty Knutson, the quarterback that Texas. I know you said you watched his film. We just played it for some folks there. Young man out of Smithson Valley. You're a former defensive player. What was it that you saw in Ty Knutson that you thought made maybe Steve Sarkisian, AJ Milwee, those guys like him as a prospect?
Bobby, what was interesting about seeing his commitment is I don't remember if it was a Coffee and Football. I think it might have been a Friday afternoon show when it kind of popped on the radar that, he had been offered. And so we watched some of his film at that time. And it's just kind of neat. You were asking me last week, what's it like kind of being on this side now? It's kind of cool to, see that come full circle. I've always kind of kept an eye on recruiting a bit just because it interests me. But, when you're following it a little more closely, it's neat to see how the pieces kind of fit together. And he's a guy that, being local, and it was funny even for me to hear Smithson Valley, I thought of Clint Haney. I don't know. I'm sure somebody's come out of there, since then. But shout out to my teammate. And I like how he moves in the pocket. He has some functional athleticism. He's not, a true dual threat quarterback necessarily, but he can do enough. And I think even at the time I said, it felt a little lazy just because of the recency, but it felt like he was a little bit more athletic, kind of early version of Trey Owens. But I think a lot of times when you're trying to find guys to fit between, I don't want to call it stopgap because I don't want to disrespect the young man, but more, he's not your high-end 5-star, right? Where you already are going to have a Dia Bell and a KJ Lacey. You need more of a guy that is okay developing for a bit. And being so close to campus and the Austin area, I think a big part of that sometimes is, all right, who's a guy that we can get that we can maybe spend some time with that isn't going to bolt after a year? And a lot of times there may be some guys that have some of those traits, but are, a little further from home, right? And so there probably would be the ones more likely that, hey, if you aren't showing them some love, early on, that they're going to have an actual chance to start. that, they may be the ones more inclined to move. So I like it. I like, how he's able to function. And he's, I think maybe you mentioned this when we were kind of texting some, he's really low on turnovers. And so, I think that's always something that I like to see out of a young quarterback, because it's a bit harder to coach that out. And, kind of full circle back to even your Sam Darnold point, that was kind of the knock on him early, is like he was a turnover machine. And so how do you, coach that out of him? And so having a guy that, just has a good skill set that, is going to likely be comfortable at least sitting for a couple of years, there's still value in that. And, there's some proven, proof in the pudding, if you will, for some of the quarterbacks that have come through Sark's offense and just the way they've been able to develop. So I like the signing, and I think, sky's the limit for that young man.
And a little further add on the recruitment. There was one coach that went hard after him from one stop to another, and that was Kendall Briles. I think that's just something to note, because you can say what you want about the Briles family, but those guys do know quarterbacks. And so he had an offer at TCU, and when Kendall got to South Carolina, he immediately offered him about a week later. So a couple of weeks later. So Kendall Briles has done, look at the guy he just had that's going to Indiana now. The Briles family does know quarterbacks, and Kendall's liked this guy for a long time before he was on anybody's radar, really.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about. Thanks for bringing this up too, Blake. I mean, look at that. Almost 300 attempts and 3 interceptions. I mean, that's pretty hard to do, like in a practice setting, right? Let alone, live bullets out there. So you like that. You like a guy that's starting out. He's already at 65%, and he's going to get another year, to go out there and put together, some stuff in the fall. But I think that's a good place to start, man. I mean, you can't beat 34 total touchdowns and only 3 interceptions. That's pretty solid work right there. Muted, Bobby.
You're muted, Bobby.
One of the things I would say, and Jerry mentioned this earlier, Marcus, he talked about the comparison to an Iowa State-like quarterback.
Okay.
I tend to agree with Jerry on that comment. Another guy that was a local product, didn't necessarily have all the stars, was a walk-on. Guy like Stetson Bennett. Stetson Bennett was not hyper athletic, but he had functional athleticism. He had a good arm, and I think that he did enough, with understanding how to take care of the football to lead Georgia to 2 national championships. So I feel like Texas, I don't know. I feel like Texas got a little diamond in the rough here. I really do believe that. And a developmental prospect, which to Jerry's point, allows you to have the time to really do something with it. Marcus, anything else you want to add from the weekend? You went to the women's basketball game on Thursday.
I did. Yeah. I had a good time, man.
Team beat Ole Miss this weekend. Anything else?
It's been a good sports weekend, right? And I think the ladies are back at it tonight. I'm probably going to sit that one out because I've just been down on campus a good bit these last, couple of weeks. But I think they're playing Kentucky. It's been good to see them get back into it. I know early on there was this thought that, Crump was going to redshirt. I'm really glad that Blake was right, that she wasn't any close to redshirting, because she's been out there filling it up anytime she gets on the court. It's great to see. I can't pronounce the big man's name that we have. Is it Vocatitis or something like that? Yeah. But it was good to kind of see him, step up on Saturday when, once and for I don't know how long it wasn't Dalen Swain leading the way. So they're finding some different things. And, as they sit, position in the SEC, down the stretch here, it'll be tough for them. I don't know the exact order of the games, but I know they got some tough ones coming up. And then even softball had some games over the weekend. So, stuff is in full swing for the spring sports. I even got my email the other day about Texas relays, coming up. I've mentioned to this before, but like track was always kind of my first love back when the track was around the stadium, right?
Oh yeah,
around
inside
the football.
DKR.
Inside DKR. That is the first like sporting memory I actually have, because my dad and a bunch of his buddies would always go to Texas relays, sit in the exact same spot. And so I got to, go to relays, and then afterwards you would go under the stands, and Michael Johnson and Maurice Green and those, type of athletes are down there just signing autographs. So that's probably one of my more favorite memories. And then my best friend and I are trying to figure out a road trip for a baseball game. So yeah, it's all all in full gear, and Del Conte had his town hall. It's all the things that you kind of need as your new meat and potatoes once football is gone from you. So I got an eye on all that. The only thing that I'm not happy about is the date of the spring game.
Whoa, wait. Do you have April 18th? What's the matter with that?
A buddy. Well, so the 19th is my brother's birthday. So I was actually going to go hang with him up in the Dallas area. But then even before that, I had committed to going to a friend's bachelor party in Scottsdale. And it happens to be the same weekend.
Oh, so, no.
Marcus, this might be my first one I've missed in a while.
Well, I just changed plans. I'm going with Marcus.
I knew Jerry might like that.
I'm going to Scottsdale. Thanks, Marcus. We're in. Hey, the funny thing about Texas relays and kids nowadays, I think it was CJ was with me, and we were at the Texas relays a couple of years ago, Marcus. And that kind of thing is funny now because of how kids grow up. Carl Lewis walks back and forth like 3 or 4 times. Nobody knew who he was.
Yep.
Nobody knew who Carl Lewis. And to further that point, so at Under Armour camps for years, our quarterback instructor was Jeff Blake. And these kids would look at him with like a side eye when he told them to do something. And I'd walk up to him and say, "You realize this guy played in multiple Pro Bowls, right?" And then nobody knew who Jeff Blake was. Like the guy giving him instruction, like the best long ball thrower of his time in the NFL, maybe. It's just funny how kids grow up nowadays. But Carl Lewis just walking back and forth. Yeah. Nobody went over, took a picture. Nobody really even knew who he was. It was pretty funny to watch 16, 17-year-olds around one of the all-time greats not knowing who he was.
I'll leave you with this because I know you got me started on a track rant, but we used to always see Jeff Blake. He would be in the weight room, kind of around, the program at the time. Same for Mark Henry. So we always had exposure to athletes, in outside of just, kind of our quote unquote Texas bubble. But yeah, it's just so different now. I mean, I remember back when Texas Relays was like, it was not only like you were there for the track, but it was a social event. People are driving in, like highways shut down now. Like it's night and day different. So these kids just have different, but there's some kids that are out there flying. So I most likely, we'll try to get out there and see some of them because there's some really talented, especially there's some twins that are coming to Texas on the women's side that are incredible. One of them I think is set, some high school records, you name it. So there's a lot of talent out there. And I even know Dylan Mitchell has been tearing it up at Milrose games here recently. So
and if it's a good weather weekend, he may be going for records for his age.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He's the one that's trying to go under 10, right?
Yeah. And he'll probably get there based on the early returns.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. Under 10 seconds, 100 meters of high school.
As a sophomore in high school.
He can fly, man. He can fly.
Yeah. You talk about going to events like the Texas Relays, Marcus and Jerry. There were, back when I was in school, there were 2 great events that were held on University of Texas that were not Longhorn specific related. It was the Texas State track meet.
Yep.
Phenomenal. I mean, just I walked from my dorm to the Texas State track meet and loved it. Right. And then you also used to have the Texas State basketball tournament.
Yeah.
Women's one weekend, men's the next.
Yep.
And went to those multiple times while I was at Texas. Those used to be fun. Now they've moved where to
San Antonio.
To
a cavernous football dome.
Yeah. And so long story short, I miss those days. Those are fun events to get through football season, basically. The football hiatus, I guess.
I got to see Kendrick Perkins at State, to your point, Bobby, right there in the Irwin Center. Byron Eaton, any number of guys I've gotten to watch when it used to be there. And we used to do the same thing. There used to even be some weekends where every now and then the spring game somehow fell on the same day as relays. So we'd have the spring game in the morning and then the whole team would walk across and we go to Texas Relays because a lot of times we had teammates competing in it. And I'll never forget. I knew him well because, again, track, and I used to have to do summer track. It was one of these things like my dad made me do. Just it was more football, training than it was anything about me really be able to get after it. And then also I figured out a lot of ladies did summer track as well, so that was fun. to kind of be around. But so because of that, I got to know Jeremy Warner really well. And to this day, he's one of my best friends. I was in his wedding. And so you see this little skinny white guy come out on the track in the 200 at I can't remember if it was state or relays, but he was going to be racing a Dorian McCullough. Yeah. It must have been relays. And so it was kind of my first exposure to kind of people side betting on stuff, right? Because everybody was like, oh, Dorian's going to smoke him. And Jeremy was out in like lane 8 or 9 and dusted him. Of course, he went on to be a multiple-time gold medalist in the 400 meters. But in that state meet that year, after relays, that was also where Dorian ran like a 10-0 something, and he slipped coming out of the blocks. Now imagine that. Like you're that good of an athlete that you can't even touch your toes. He literally could not touch his toes when we first got to Texas, but we all knew he was going to be in our class, so we went and watched him that year. Coming out of the blocks in the 100, he slipped and still ran 10-0 something and won it. So, I love Texas relays. Always have loved track and always keep an eye on it to this day.
Crazy thing about the Texas basketball tournament is how many guys you've seen there, not that weren't just basketball players, but I remember seeing 158, 60-pound Colt McCoy playing for Jim Ned and thinking, man, that kid's got a long way to go physically, but he has got really good natural movement skills and reactive quickness. Reactive quickness shows up in basketball. When you're guarding somebody and you open your hips up and that guy starts to beat you at a leveraged angle, how do you react to that? And Colt McCoy reacted like an athlete.
That was my very first time meeting Colt.
Yep.
Yeah. That was my first time meeting Colt. His team, Jim Ned, was here for state. I was at that Freebirds over there in Hancock Center, and I see this like bus pull up and a bunch of these kids come in, and you see this like baby face guy, and I kind of could recognize him. I got to talking to him, and he said, "Yes, sir," to me. And I was like, bro, we're not, we're not there at all. Like, I'm going to be older than you, but please don't call me sir. So.
And wasn't it amazing how small he was coming out of high school?
Yeah, he was. He was.
I mean, 165, I think, is what he was listed at. 6'1", 165, 170. Yeah. I mean, and that was a real, true weight for him when you saw him in person on a basketball court. He didn't have a lot to that frame at that point in time.
I first saw Colt at a 7-on-7 tournament in College Station.
Mm-hmm.
And he was with Stephen McGee.
Okay, yeah.
He's from Burnett that played for Coach Shipley.
Yep.
With Jordan. And he was the exact opposite physically of Colt McCoy. I mean, he was broad-shouldered, big, thick athlete. Colt McCoy looked like a string bean compared to him.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, I wonder if Texas took the wrong quarterback. I mean, because you look at him, one did not look like a Division I quarterback, frankly. And one looked like he's built for the wear and tear of the NFL.
The only thing I would add to that, though, Bobby, is McGee had a guy at Burnett that he could throw to.
Yes, he did.
Kind of helped him out a little bit.
Yes, he did. There's no doubt.
And by the way, one of my highlights in high school athletics and living in this state growing up was seeing Shaquille O'Neal at the state basketball tournament.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
People that don't remember Shaq at 265, 275, he's the most underrated athlete in my lifetime. As an athlete, people underrate him. They just he's just big. That guy is a phenomenal athlete at his size. There's only been one of him for a reason. They could they could play in the 24-second shot clock and move up and down the court like a guard at 300 pounds and had unbelievable foot quickness, great vertical, great reactive quickness. That guy was a true freak. And seeing him in 2A high school basketball is pretty funny.
Indeed.
Well, Marcus, thank you for joining us as always.
Appreciate y'all.
Monday.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Catch you later this week.
Take care of yourself, brother. Be good, man.
Yes, sir. All right. Talk to you later.
Oh, we got to get some pep in our step here, guys. Got to get some pep in our step. What do you got for us next, Blake?
Well, first, before we got to get to some super chats. We got some other stuff to talk about, but I need Jerry to tell us about Ridge Wallet.
I will do that. You don't want to get your wallet ripped. That's the start, okay? But was it a giant crusty leather brick that was always falling apart? Remember those old old wallets from back in the day? Did your back hurt because you were sitting uneven? Yeah, we've all been there pretty much. What is Ridge Wallet? It's a unique, slim, modern design that holds up to 12 cards plus cash, fits right in that front pocket, feels more secure. It's made with premium materials like aluminum, titanium, and carbon fiber. Over 50 colors to choose from and styles. So even that UT Ridge wallet, all Ridge products have a lifetime warranty. This is literally the last wallet you ever have to buy. Does it give you peace of mind knowing that all Ridge wallets have RFID blocking technology, keeping you safe from digital pickpocketers? That is very key. There's over 100,000 five-star reviews for Ridge Wallet, and that's growing by the day. And again, where did we start on this? Losing your wallet is the worst. But with the Ridge AirTag attachment, you'll always know exactly where it is before panic mode kicks in. You don't want that mode. It's a very bad one when you lose your wallet, credit cards, and cash. Ridge just isn't about wallets. They create premium everyday carry essentials like key cases, suitcases, and rings, all built with the same sleek, durable design. No matter what you pick, Ridge has free shipping, a 99-day free risk trial, and a lifetime warranty on all their products. For a limited time, our listeners get 10% off at Ridge by using code ONTEXAS at checkout. Just head to ridge.com and use code ONTEXAS, and you're all set. After you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Of course, that's OTF and nowhere else.
And I'm going to tell everyone about one of our new sponsors this morning, and that's Ultra Pouches. And they sent me these. And one thing I didn't expect when I started using Ultra Pouches was, well, how dialed in my focus felt. It's not jittery. It's not a spike. It's just this calm, steady flow state. And Ultra is zero nicotine. It's caffeine free, and it's powered by natural nootropics. And what's wild is 90% of users report noticeable improvements in focus, and I get why. The energy is smooth, memory feels sharper, mood stays even, and that's whether I'm working, driving, recording coffee and football, or just trying to lock in and get stuff done. It doesn't take over your headspace. It just helps you stay present and productive. It's the same pouch experience I like. You get the flavor, the burn, the kick. It's just cleaner and more controlled. So if you want focus without the buzz or crash, this is it. Ultra is the ultimate guilt-free pouch. New customers can get 15% off with code ONTEXAS at takeultra.com. That's takeultra.com, code ONTEXAS. And when they ask where you heard about them, tell them that OTF sent you. Well, let's jump into some super chats this morning. And let's do this one from Nick. Nick says, what are your thoughts on Aaron Donald stating his lowest playing weight was 250 and highest 280 playing defensive tackle for the Rams?
Wow. That is crazy to me. In the NFL, I mean, how do you not get blown off the ball? I mean, is that, I mean, a 250-pound defensive tackle in the NFL? I mean, you got to be super freak athlete. Of course he is. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm looking that up. That is really, he says I was 258 during the 2018 Super Bowl season, which is crazy to me, right? He's listed at 280. I was going back and looking. So at the NFL pre-draft measurables for him, 6 foot and 3/4, 285. He had long arms, dudes. 6'5" and 5/8 inch wingspan. I mean, that's pretty good. 32 and 5/8 arms, but 6 foot and 3/4, 285 entering the NFL draft. So what struck me about that comment was that he lost 25 pounds at times in his NFL career. Unbelievable quickness, maybe as quick a player as we've ever seen playing that position in the NFL. Unbelievable leverage, unbelievable natural strength. Bobby, and his hands were just as quick as his feet. He had the hands of a boxer, of a lightweight boxer, man. But I mean, I think Byron Murphy is 305-ish. I don't know what his exact weight is, but seeing Byron Murphy last year at Texas when he was on campus, I'm guessing he's 305-ish. So he's playing with considerable more weight.
It's unbelievable. And that's unbelievable to me. I mean, how do you do that?
Yeah.
How do you not get blown away by some of these guys?
Yeah.
Athleticism, I guess, is the answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And our next super chat this morning, you got a couple for you, Jerry, or a few actually. Jonathan here says, Jerry, Manscaped won the commercial battle hands down.
I didn't see that, but I'm not surprised. I hope our read comes back soon, because we've missed a lot of manscaping the opponent opportunities in the last few months.
I bet it's on YouTube. I bet you can go find the commercial on YouTube.
Yeah.
You have to go watch.
Arch is going to be the next spokesperson for it.
Trey Wisner missed his opportunity to be a lifetime manscaper of OU and A&M.
Yeah.
Darren Jones says, hey, Jerry, you left Friday before my super chat came through, but how excited are you about the spring game being back? And it's on Terrence's 56th birthday.
I'm super excited, not for myself, but for the fan base of Texas. Because, look, and I just don't – and I know what college coaches – I know what the coaches want. I just disagree with them. And it doesn't mean I don't like them and share and get where they're coming from on their opinion. But I just think it's wrong for college athletics. I mean, the fans are asked to pay more, 7% price increase again this year, just at Texas. Their prices are going up everywhere. But you're asked to pay a lot to go to these games. You're asked to support your university's NIL and the efforts in recruiting these players. But then you shut it down and you don't see any of these players until August. I just disagree with that. I'm so happy for the fan base that the spring game is back. Because if you're legitimately contributing to this team, you should get to see this team. You should get to see these guys one time in the spring. I'm really happy for the fan base. I think it's great. What is it going to be? You know that what these are. I mean, but it doesn't matter. You know, going in, it's a glorified scrimmage made for TV purposes and everything else you want to add, et cetera, to, right? But it doesn't matter. You just want to see Rasheem Biles and Cam Coleman in a Texas uniform. They may not catch a ball. You don't care. You just want to see him. You want to see Derek Cooper take 3 handoffs in a spring game. You want to see these guys. And how much better, by the way, after that spring game? You know, last year when you have no spring game and we're in these chats and we're talking about all these guys, now everybody gets to see these guys one time. Think about what we can talk about in these chats as people who cover Texas, as Texas fans. I think it's great all the way around. I'm excited that it's back, and I hope it stays back forever, because if fans are going to be asked and alumni are going to be asked to contribute to NIL and to high ticket prices, these players need to be on display for them.
Yeah, I would say this. You talking about being able to talk about them. It gives it, while we get a chance to see them early in spring, Jerry, as members of the media, we got spring practice actually starts March 9th, by the way. It culminates with the spring game, April 18th. But what it does is it gives everyone context for what we're talking about. So they can actually see and watch those guys perform. Terrence, by the way, you're the exact same age as me. I'm 56 as well. So we've been through a lot of the same stuff, I think, through the years. I feel like, Sark last year was a weird year because the season lasted so long. And you had so much other stuff going on, including the spring portal, which opened after the spring game. And all that did was encourage teams, I think, to poach.
Yeah.
Now that you have one portal and it's after the season, not after spring ball, it opens this up more. And I do think that that's one thing they got right about the portal. You know, everybody's saying, "Oh, we should make the portal only one time at the end of April or May." I don't agree with that for this exact reason. You want something scheduled throughout the year for football to be a year-round sport.
Yeah,
and the spring game has been for decades integral to that connection continuing with the fan base, and so I think that's why that's important to me.
And playing right off that question, which I think was awesome. We're going to do something for you guys today because Bobby and I, we thought about this. We watched the huddle tape of guys when they're coming out and they sign with Texas. We're going to play Cam Coleman's senior huddle tape right now, then Rasheem Biles, because some of you guys have seen him in college. But now let's take a look at their senior huddles. What did these guys look like What made Cam Coleman a 5-star, and I think the number 2 receiver in the country, to Jeremiah Smith in most rankings? Well, this is Cam Coleman at Phoenix City Central, great high school, about 20 minutes east of Auburn, Alabama. Tremendous high school. Bo Nix's father coached down there for a long time. A lot of talented players. A number of NFL players have come out of there. Play a great schedule. So when you watch Cam Coleman, this is him against great competition in Southeast Alabama. Played some Georgia teams as well. Always play a national game. But you can see all of Cam Coleman's skill set on this play, on this tape, Bobby, because, I mean, look, he gets off the line quick. I always like guys with their heels hit their butt cheeks very easily when they run. That's Cam Coleman. You see that playmaking ability. He can beat off. He's got real speed, football speed, because he beats off coverage. Again, he's playing against multiple D1 DBs. Yeah, everybody put their best on Cam Coleman, right? But this is a look at him as senior year in high school.
That's fun. It's fun to look back, see what they've become. Texas fans will get their first peek in that. Look at that ball tracking.
Unbelievable.
Beat. Yeah. That may be his special skill, Jerry, is the ball tracking.
Yeah.
You agree with that?
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
Downfield receiver. Yeah. Yep. Contested catch machine.
Yep.
Contested catch machine.
Yeah. People are laughing at what I said. I don't know about Bobby, but it's funny when you go watch guys, the guys who have that flexibility when they run, that their heels just reach their butt cheeks very easily. Those guys can really run. Okay. That's one of those things when you watch somebody and you're like, okay, that guy's fast. That's just one of those things you notice about guys. People are laughing in the chat about that, but that's what I was talking about. Those guys tend to be really fast athletes.
Yeah, that would never was Bobby Burton. I knew what you meant when you said it, and I was like, yeah, that wasn't me. Yeah. That wasn't me. It's good stuff. All right, let's take a look at Rasheem Biles too, Jerry. You had we're going to do actually something today, a little update that we've heard behind the scenes on some freshmen and newcomers. 2 of those are Cam Coleman and Rasheem Biles. This is Rasheem Biles from high school. You'll notice he's playing safety in almost all of these plays. That gives you an idea of his athleticism and his understanding of the pass game, I think, Jerry.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. He's 180 pounds. Oh, now I get why people are laughing. Sorry. Okay, well, I was talking about okay. I get it. But Rasheem Biles is 180-pound safety in high school. I mean, think about that. This is him at 180. I think he missed some of his senior year with injury. But it's crazy that what has translated with him is, look, that ability to make plays on the football and do it in an acrobatic, body turning, body control type of talent, that has come through in college playing linebacker. He had a couple of interceptions. He's returned 3 for pick sixes, I believe, in college. He had a couple interceptions last year that were just crazy. The ball's behind him. He almost overran one. He was so instinctive on it. But that has really carried over for him. Also, his closing speed, Bobby, and that play before, that physicality he brings. I mean, 31.5 tackles for loss at Pitt. Pat Narduzzi played him close to the line of scrimmage a lot, blitzed him a lot. So if you're that level athlete and that type of instincts, you're going to have a lot of TFLs. But he just seems like, Bobby, from safety in high school to college linebacker, he is 2 steps ahead of everybody else on the field. His recognition, he must be like Earl Thomas in film study, because he seems like he's beating everybody to the spot all the time. And that is very rare to be like that. There aren't a lot of guys you can say that about.
He reminds me, and he reminds me of something that Jimmy Johnson used to do. Jimmy Johnson used to say, look, I want the guys that play safety, that really understand the game and are tenacious and fast. I want them to move to linebacker. And that's what Rasheem Biles has done. Is he going to be too light in the SEC? Is going to be a fair question, I think. Can he get off blocks of these big guys, essentially? I think that's going to be the question mark for Rasheem Biles. What's not going to be a question is his athleticism, though.
No.
And I think that that's where, and we talked about a guy like Aaron Donald, that's 250 pounds playing defensive tackle. With athleticism, it can be the great equalizer for any sport. It really can. So we'll see. But obviously, talented young man. One of the guys that we're going to talk about later today in an update about how he's doing on campus already with Texas.
Yeah, and I posted something on OnTexasFootball.com this morning about some of the things I heard over the weekend on some of those young guys and newcomers. And again, like Bobby said, we're going to be talking about that more in depth coming up here around lunchtime today.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, well, one thing that we need to do is every day we've been looking at different position groups, and we are going to finally cap off. We've done them all now after today. Once we look at
we have specialists left.
teams. So
Okay.
this is it right here, fellas. This caps off our daily look. And we got kickers, we got long snappers, we got punters. Y'all's thoughts?
Yeah, look, I mean, Spedick has a huge leg, 4 or 5 over 50, right? Is he going to be in college football? 30 to 49 yards is where you make your money, right? Well, I say that because of NIL nowadays. Mason Shipley was 15 of 15 from there last year. I think it was maybe 17 of 17. But I think it was 15 of 15 from 30 to 49 yards. Perfect. Doesn't get any better than that. Hey, right hash solved, left hash, whatever hash. He did it. 15 of 15. So Spedick has a huge leg. Hasn't been, and that is a welcome addition because like Sark can think about bringing him out from 57, 58 yards in a meaningful game. I think he's got that type of leg. He's already posted a few on Twitter of kicking in the bubble a little bit. Is he going to be as consistent from 30 to 39? That's going to be the thing with Spedick. I think he was 15 to 20 last year, so I think he'd miss maybe 3 from 30 to 49 yards. But a huge leg. I think that'll be valuable on kickoffs. Texas used 3 kickoff guys last year. Spedick, Barnett will be competing for that. Jake Collette, that'll bring in Spedick, will give Collette some time, which I think he's got a big leg. Was one of the highest ranked kickers in the country coming out of high school, but still needs some time. Long snapper, they brought in freshman Trot O'Neill. Traded Buck, expected to be the starter. Look, he was a very highly recruited long snapper when he went into the portal. That's not covered the same way, obviously, but he had multiple SEC schools coming after him, Auburn, Arkansas, you name it. Stuck with Texas after he committed to Texas. And it went from a story I was told, he was about to get on a plane, head to Texas, and multiple SEC schools were calling him saying, don't get on the plane, come. Just give us a chance first. So, I mean, look, he was a very highly recruited long snapper. And he technically has 1 year to play, but that could turn into 2. We'll see on that. From a punting standpoint, Mac Chimuto has some experience there. Big leg. FSU didn't punt much last year. I think he will compete, Bobby, with Bukowskis. I think that's going to be a competition. But if Mac wins it, he's got experience. If Bukowskis were to win it, number 1 ranked punter in the country by some, that means he'll have really earned it because Mac averaged 44.7 last year.
Look, my takeaway on this is they did what we thought they would do. They went out and signed a punter, a kicker, and a deep snapper. When we use the term all in, Jerry, we talked about them trying to fill every possible role that could be a weak spot and kind of reinforce it. They easily could have left the long snapping up to true freshmen. They've done that in the past. Okay. I think Lance St. Louis, who just finished at Texas, was deep snapping as a true freshman. So they've left that stuff up to people in the past. They decided not to do that with this group and not to do it when you get to go to 105 scholarships too, by the way.
Yeah.
I think we would be remiss if we did not mention Spencer Barnett here somewhat as a potential to at least compete for the kickoff role, Jerry, and potentially the place kicking role. Westlake product has shown some signs of being a guy for Texas, but we'll have to wait and see whether or not he can do it as well. I agree with you. Of all of the positions, though, the one that I think is going to be most contested is Chimento, the punter, versus Mikey Bukakis.
Mm-hmm.
That all depends on whether or not Bukakis is really ready to go as a first-year starter in college football. So, because I think he's got – many people think Bukakis has a NFL-level punting leg.
Yes.
And Chimento is not considered in that category. Good punter, not that kind of upside, though.
I mean, and you think about it, what Michael Dixon, one of the best, will end up being one of the best to ever do it in the NFL. His first year at Texas, 41.3. As talented as he is, where he's going to go down all time, and then he jumped to 47.4, 47.4. I mean, so that first year, I don't care how talented you are, and that's a big move for Dixon coming from Australia to the States, right? There's so much that goes into that versus a kid that's grown up in the States. That's a huge transition in somebody's life. But still, as talented as Dixon was, people obviously, many people in the chat remember that his freshman year looked nothing like his 2016 and 2017 years at Texas. So there's still a freshman aspect to that as well. It's a lot different grabbing the ball and punting it on the road at Tennessee and having to put that precisely at an 8-yard line where Texas wants you to.
Michael Dixon now.
Yep.
Super Bowl champion Michael Dixon for the rest of his life. Did performed well, by the way, too. There's a reason he's a Pro Bowler.
Yep.
Or All-Pro, I think. Yeah, no doubt. Hey, I got to tell you guys about one of our sponsors. And I have been using these a lot lately as the weather got colder, and that is Hollow, the socks for everybody. What's different about Hollow that makes them lightweight yet still extremely warm and comfortable? Ultra soft baby alpaca fiber. That's what it is. That's how this level of comfort is actually legal. Warm, they're thermoregulating, they warm below freezing, and even comfortable when it warms up. They're 3 times more warm than wool without the bulk. Moisture managing, your feet stay dry instead of staying in sweat. And they're also built for daily wear and real boots, not just desk socks as well. Tremendous all-around socks. I've been wearing them for about 3 months now. Hollow doesn't just make one kind of sock. They're built for. They built a lineup for every lifestyle, everyday socks, trade socks, compression socks, hunting socks, all of those things. For a limited time offer, Hollow Socks is having a buy two, get two free sale. Head to hollowsocks.com today to check it out. That's hollowsocks.com for up to 50% off your order. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. You can support our show and tell them that we sent you. Again, hollowsocks.com, buy two, get two free sale, up to 50% off your order.
And Jerry, if you'll tell us about Vaughn Lane.
Yeah, Vaughn Lane is built for business travel. When it comes to regional travel, time matters and comfort does too. That's why more professionals are choosing Vaughn Lane for business trips, conferences, and meetings. With Vaughn Lane, there's no airport chaos and no long drive. You board quickly at private terminals, just minutes from your destination, and travel in a quiet, spacious cabin with only 22 first-class seats. Every trip includes complimentary Wi-Fi, snacks, beverages, hot towel service, and complimentary meals on select departures. And the experience definitely speaks for itself. One recent customer shared this. This was actually one of the best traveling experiences I've ever had. I don't think I'll ever drive myself to Houston again. That sounds like a good idea. The service was incredible, better than a flight attendant I've ever had. Comfortable, right? Great amenities and great service. And now Vaughn Lane is upgrading its fleet with Starlink Internet, taking already included Wi-Fi to the next level, ideal for working, emailing, and staying productive while you travel. Vaughn Lane connects Austin, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Fort Worth, Plano, and the Woodlands in the state of Texas. Outside the state lines, Nashville, Memphis, Atlanta, and Knoxville. We expect that list to continue to grow. And for group travel, Vaughn Lane offers custom charters, letting you control the schedule, routing, and experience from start to finish. Houston to Baton Rouge for the LSU game. I'll throw that one out there now for people. Book your next trip at vaughnlane.com. First-time riders can enter OTF26 at checkout to get $20 off their first trip. What is Vaughn Lane? Elevated regional travel.
Hey, Jerry, that comment that they made, Von Lane made about travel in the state of Texas, never driving myself to Houston again.
Yes.
You and I both have driven around the state of Texas for decades, just random small towns to big cities and everything in between. I wonder what people would vote as the worst freeway in the state of Texas. Is it? I mean, literally, what would be like your absolute worst freeway? Yeah, I mean, there's an area of Dallas that just killed me every time I tried to go north in that city.
I would say, I mean, some people would say like I-45, I-35's gotten bad. I-35 because it just wasn't built for the population there. It's not the interstate, but 610 anywhere around the Gallery at the wrong time is absolutely.
Oh, in Houston, yeah.
And I-10 Katy Freeway. Somebody said that one. That one's
going near Memorial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it feels like here's that. B2. This is my pet peeve because I drive this a lot. I-10 Columbus to Houston, constant construction for the last 50 years. Yes, and there's been times I've told Bobby, I've told Blake, I've told everybody this I've talked to. The drive from Houston to Austin and Austin back to Houston on I-10. So if you're going 71 through Bastrop, which has grown with the lights there, it's about 20 minutes longer in the last 2 years. About 20 minutes longer both ways. And if you hit it during traffic time in Bastrop, forget about it in that area. But it's definitely 20 minutes longer trip for me both ways nowadays.
Yeah.
So I love it. It's great.
This is it. Marcus is the one I was talking about. 635 in Dallas.
Yeah.
I mean, I just used to be buried in that. You got going at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right.
Sorry, that was a sidetrack.
But I'll say this. I think Bobby's like me. He's gotten his car and driven around for years to see football. Well, obviously the 405 in LA is always going to be number one. But DC, Atlanta now is brutal. Atlanta now to drive around is brutal. If you go south of Lauderdale going to Miami, you better give yourself a lot of time. That is brutal now too. Tampa, because of the population growth and the way it's structured, it's kind of like Austin for me. It's bigger, but it just wasn't built for that. Those areas are just brutal nowadays.
Whichever one I'm on in rush hour.
Yeah.
The other one that I noticed, and you noticed this too, Jerry, driving back from Florida a couple of weeks ago, from Lafayette into Beaumont.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, that road is all tore up. So thoughts go. Anyways, as we speak of better, that is a true sidetrack, by the way. Yeah. We are a football podcast, not a but
it takes us to our job. Our job is goes through all these freeways. That's for sure. I mean, and as much as I love the palm trees and the weather in Florida, when I go down there in late February or March to see a lot of the kids Texas has offered, man, that traffic is rough down there if you're in the wrong area. Too many people have moved down there, and the freeways just aren't built for it.
We got some more super chats this morning, and let's start with this one from Jeff Carey. Thank you, Jeff. He says, Jerry, how good can Vokatitis be realistically?
I said this since his freshman year at FAU when he transferred to Texas, and I'll maintain this. That guy's going to play a decade or more as long as he wants a professional basketball. The question is going to be, is it going to be the highest European leagues? Can he find his way into a two-way contract in the G League and give himself a chance? Look, I think people get frustrated with Matas and the fouling, but he's a young basketball player. I mean, he's a young player. And what's he now after Saturday's, 14.8 points a game, 6.7 rebounds a game. His first year in the SEC after playing at FAU last year. He is on track. He is on track to be a really good player. I think the whole key for him, if he has any two-way G League hopes, is he's going to have to shoot the basketball. He's going to have to be able to face up at the top of the key and shoot the basketball. I mean, look, Drew Timme was an unbelievable college player out of Richardson Pierce. Unbelievable at Gonzaga. But he couldn't shoot the basketball. And Drew's a lot better player than Vokatias, don't get me wrong. But that's my point. As good a player as Drew Timme was at Gonzaga, that he was a interior player. He played inside 15 feet the vast majority of the time. In the modern game, if you have any hopes of playing pro basketball in the States, you have to be able to face up from 23 feet. In that high ball screen action, you have to be a threat at some level. But I think Matas is going to play professional basketball, have a career in basketball, and make a great living playing basketball as long as he wants to. The question is going to be, where is it at? But I've never seen this guy as a 3-year, I said possible 3-year player. If then he just wants to get on with a pro career. But I've also said this on the basketball show with Jeff Howe and I recently. I said, I don't want these guys to get too good, too fast. Then you don't keep them. Like I'm happy with where Matas is in his development, because if all the things people said, well, why can't he do this? Why can't he do that? If he did all those things, he'd be averaging 20 and 9. Then he's gone. I want some of these guys to actually stay and develop. Some part of me doesn't like how quickly Dalen Swain has developed in the SEC this year, because now you're in danger. The possibility now exists of losing him. I like to have multiple year guys. I can live with the mistakes and what they need to work with, because I know they're going to be there longer. And I think that is so I'm happy with where Matas is. Is he perfect? No. If he was a perfect player, you wouldn't be talking about him next year because he'd be gone. I think that's the flip side to all this talk about some of these guys, is if they corrected every mistake, if they made that type of jump in 1 year, we probably aren't getting them back for 2.
And let's see, our next one here comes from Michael Williams, and he says, how does the increase in scholarships impact the baseball team? Hook 'em. For those unaware, it went from 11.7 to 34, I believe, starting this year. And if you're talking about Texas specifically, I think they're still trying to figure that out. Now, teams can still give out partials. They don't have to go all the way to 34 with, give out 34 full scholarships. So I think that's a storm that Texas is still weathering and figuring out where they want to be and all that. But I wouldn't expect all 34 to be filled at this time.
You don't expect all 34 to be filled, but is everybody there on full scholarship now?
That I do know. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. I think that everybody there is now on full scholarship, except unless, of course, you play another sport like football. Jonah Williams counts towards the football scholarship number.
Yeah.
Interesting. That was something that CDC mentioned in the town hall, that they used to have to divvy up scholarships in baseball, and now they don't have to any longer with the new rules.
But they still can, if need be.
They can if they want to, yes.
Yeah.
I was going to add this, to that point, because we talk about it in football all the time. Like men's basketball goes to 15 scholarships. They're not using all those, especially for NIL spots, right? Because Texas will probably have 9, maybe 10 basketball NIL spots. And then you have some developmental players that probably get the stretch of 13 or 14, but not likely you use all 15.
And then we got one other super chat this morning. Hopefully one of you have an answer here for I am Dub 1. He says, I saw Mark Henry posted about his son and Marcus Boswell playing each other at the Red River rivalry. Are they related or family friends?
Went to the same high school, played together at Lake Travis. So that's one of it. That's one of the things. So you would just say, I don't know the family if they're friends, but obviously they're around each other a lot at Lake Travis through football and multiple sports.
There we go. Good stuff. All right, before we get to our last question or two, Bobby, I'm going to let you tell everyone one more time about John Donovan and Longhorn Wealth Management.
Thank you very much. John's a proud Texas Exes Life member who served on the Dallas Texas Exes board for 15 years and now helps lead the build-out and supports the Collin County Texas Exes chapter, while also consistently serving as Longhorns as a certified financial planner and the founder of Longhorn Wealth Management. John's thankful and proud to have been recognized as a member of the prestigious Longhorn 100 for 2026. To celebrate this recognition as one of the fastest growing companies in the world, founded, owned, or led by UT alums, John is offering all OTF fans a free private financial consultation to learn how John can help you maximize your wealth, minimize your taxes, and ensure your legacy. To schedule your free private consultation with John, simply call him or the Longhorn Wealth team, 972-707-4900, or schedule online at www.longhornwealth.net. John sends a huge Longhorn 100 hook'em to all the OTF family. Thanks, John, for your support of On Texas Football's Coffee and Football every Monday morning.
All right, we got time for just another question or two before we get out of here. Antoine, and I've seen a few people ask this, March 9th is the beginning of spring football. Any clue when the online roster will be updated?
No, but usually John Bianco's head of sports information along with Thomas Stepp and his staff, Thomas over the top of football communications. Usually it is about a week or 2 weeks before the start of spring camp. And they may not even have all of the numbers in, jersey numbers yet. So that's kind of, they're not just waiting on heights and weights. They're waiting on jersey decisions, things like that too.
And Jay wants to know, after last night, is Byron Murphy now officially the best defensive tackle in Texas history?
No.
You got to stay healthy.
The answer is no.
Yeah.
I mean, as good as Byron is, I mean, I'm not saying he takes a back seat to anyone, but to say he's the definitive best defensive tackle in Texas history, no. I mean, Casey Hampton had a Super Bowl sack too. I mean, there's been other guys. I mean, there's Kenneth Sims was the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft as a defensive tackle. There have been some really, really talented guys at that position for Texas.
Yeah, I mean, look, if I'm Byron Murphy, I'm looking and saying when my career's over, I hope it is as good or better than Casey Hampton's, right? I mean, Casey Hampton, for those that don't know, was 5-time Pro Bowler, 2-time Super Bowl champion, Pittsburgh Steelers all-time team, Pittsburgh Steelers Hall of Honor, Pittsburgh Pro Football Hall of Famer. I mean, there's a lot there, so it's about health and longevity. But if I'm Byron Murphy, I want to say, at the end of my career, I want to say Hamp and I had a lot in common.
Tavondre Sweat, pretty good too, played on the same team. I mean, Texas, that is not a position Texas historically has been, has had issues at. I mean, they've had players going back. Doug English back in the 70s played all-pro for the Detroit Lions. Steve McMichael in the NFL Hall of Fame. Defensive tackle. So best ever is hard whenever you start talking about a place like Texas.
And Sean Rogers, Marcus's point, had multiple Pro Bowls as well.
Yeah.
Multiple.
Well, one of the best to do it at Texas, Michael Dixon. Let's talk about it. Let's finish the show with him from David Keith Williams. He says Dixon has been an NFL punter for 8 years. 40% of his punts have literally landed inside the 20-yard line.
Oh, yeah.
I think he is a Hall of Fame punter right now, and his career may only be half over.
Totally agree. If he does this times 2, I think he'll have a chance to be in the Hall of Fame. I think he's that level player.
I sent this last night to the group before the Super Bowl. Michael Dixon, listen to this. For punting a football, he just prior to 2025 season, he signed a 4-year contract extension for $16.2 million. He's making $4 million a year to punt a football. He better be good. But no, he, in all seriousness, look, Texas, talking about all-time punters, the one that will immediately come to a lot of old-timers' minds will be Russell Erxleben, who was drafted in the first round of the NFL draft, actually, way back in the day by the New Orleans Saints. But I would say for effectiveness at Texas and in a pro career, I do think that Michael Dixon could go down as the best punter to ever play at Texas. It's also the only one that's ever going to win a bowl game MVP.
Yeah.
I mean, for sure, I think.
That was a hell of a wide receiver rotation by Herman. That year. This is a fun question. This is where some of these discussions get fun. Michael Dixon at what he does as a punter, is he as good as anybody that's come through Texas that's been in the NFL at what they do?
Well, Justin Tucker.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, is Dixon as good or better? I mean, people would talk about Earl Campbell, Ricky Williams. If we're talking about all positions, is he as good at his position as anybody that's ever come through Texas that played in the NFL when all said and done? I think it's going to be a discussion. He's not going to make the money. He's not going to have the recognition of the greats that play other positions. But is he as good is the question. Does he have a chance to be the best? It's an interesting question.
For sure. All right, guys. That's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football presented by Longhorn Wealth Management Group. We want to thank them along with Ridge, Hollow, Ultra Pouches, and Vaughn Lane for sponsoring today's show. Of course, thank you all for tuning in as well. Bobby, what can they tune into later?
Jerry and I are going to do a little special video for you guys, newcomer video, as well as freshmen. We've been hearing some things behind the scenes about how some of those guys have been doing. You've been asking about that. Jerry wrote a little piece on it. I've got some things to add as well to that. So we're going to have a little bit of that this afternoon. Coach Shipley, Rod B., as well as CJ, they're on tonight for a nighttime show. Please come join us. And once again, before we let you guys go, congratulations to Michael Dixon, Byron Murphy, as well as Quandre Diggs, 2026 Super Bowl champions of Seattle Seahawks. Congrats, guys.
Well, we will be back same time, same place tomorrow morning. We hope you have a great day today. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.
Welcome home.